Tiffany.
It's Issa.
And I'm also Tiffany.
This is the last Tiffany.
And this is TITT Talks, a podcast for modern women living in a mama world.
Welcome back. It's another episode of TITT Talks. Today is a special episode for all of us. It's on the journey to motherhood. So we've all had different experiences, just like you guys. Some planned, some not. And we'll be going through the sentimental ride to becoming moms. So thank you for listening. We're so happy to be sharing our lives with you and bringing you into our girl gang while we share our experiences of being moms in this modern world. Speaking of shared experiences, you are welcome to pour a glass of wine with us because you know that's what we're doing as we have fun on these podcasts with you.
Cheers.
Yeah, cheers, everyone.
Clink,
Let's go. Let's talk babies.
Bringing you along on this journey, we have
Tiffany.
It's me again, Issa.
Tiffany.
And Tiffany.
And so you heard Ticha, Chuk, and Tilo, and you know, as we go, you'll get to know their nicknames and them as well. So I am probably the most recent mom here. We do have a mom to be who is Chuk, but I probably have the most recent birth of everyone here. So I'm gonna go.
You definitely have.
You're coming up, but yeah. I'm going to go into the birth of Sana Chai Munoz, or actually when I got pregnant. I, was experiencing being fatigued, and we actually didn't plan it 2 weeks ahead of that. We were like, I just think we're the kind of people that aren't having biological kids. Like we seriously had, Jake and I, my husband, this conversation where we're probably going to adopt when, 5 years down the line when we turn like 40 or something. So it was such a surprise when I was like, okay, where's my period? So I actually told a coworker that I'm going to go home and take a pregnancy test. And I went to CVS and I bought like 5.
Which one? Which brand?
I first bought the cheap CVS one. And then I was like, oh, I need an expensive one too. So I got first response.
Just to be sure.
Just to be sure. Or the one that says pregnant and not pregnant.
Clear blue.
There you go.
Clear blue.
Because I was like, I need
your go-to.
it spelled out. You need it spelled out for you. So I did like 2 at first, the 2 cheap ones, and they both said pregnant. So I'm like, oh, dang. Okay. So I got it. And this was all before Jake got home. And then, so I did the 3rd one. It said pregnant, and, my mind's racing. I don't know what to do. And then Jake's like, hey, do you want to go have dinner somewhere? And I'm like, yes, let's have sushi. Because I literally thought that was the last time I'm ever going to get to have sushi in a very long time. So we went, and I was very quiet, and Jake's like, luckily there was a game on, so he didn't really notice. But the funny thing is...
At this point, Issa, Jake had still not known?
No, I kept it
oh my gosh.
through dinner because I left out the test in the bathroom so that when he came home, he would see it. And I actually videotaped him, but it will never come out because he was picking up dog poop. Because our dog likes to go in the bathroom like us. So
Yeah.
So it's not very flattering. But yeah, so we got home and then he goes into the bathroom and he's like looking. I left it on the toilet lid. So he's looking and he's like, what is that? And then he's like, really? Really? Aww. So he was so excited. And the hard part was like, I knew that I had to set that up for him like that because I knew he would be so excited. And for me, just to be honest, it was kind of the opposite. I felt like sad about it. It wasn't planned. And I have had other plans. If you guys don't know, I was going to school at Beat Junkie Institute of Sound. And I still had 5 months left. And I wanted to do another program they had. And in my mind, I had so many things that I wanted to accomplish that I thought, having a child would get in the way of. Just to let you know, it didn't. So.
I know. I was going to say you ended up being a badass mom and you did it anyway.
Yeah, it didn't. So, I think I definitely cried to Jake and he was very excited. So we had different emotions, but I knew before that we had talked if we ever had an accident, that, we're in a place and I'm at an age where we should move forward. And so, from then, I think I went into it feeling super happy after that, wanting to be the perfect mother ever, researching my head off, all the things that you do. So fast forward to Sana coming. I think in a future episode, you'll hear about LBKs. But I had an LBK.
Oh, you will, yes.
which I think I had an LBK, which I think pushed me into labor a week early. Not bad, but a week early, and I will always hold this over Jake's head. So, birth was 28 hours, and I've heard of longer. But that was long for me.
Yeah.
I definitely was screaming out that I should have become a nun. What am I doing? Why did I ever have sex in my whole entire life? All those things come out. We actually went to the hospital, got turned back because there was only 1 centimeter, and that was probably after at least 12 hours of labor. And then my husband would not bring me into the hospital until I met the exact requirements that the doctor gave him. And so I ended up going in after my water broke, and I was already like 9.5 centimeters. And by God's good grace and me begging, I got the epidural because I remember Tila talking about the ring of fire, and I did not want that.
It's real.
So pushing was easy. It was like 10 minutes, and I had my little bundle of joy, and she changed my world. And so, long story short, or short story short, at first you might be hesitant, you might have these reservations. Of course, they're going to change your world, but it all happened for the better for me. And I was still able to accomplish what I had wanted to prior to learning about her. And she really is such a beautiful little bundle of joy. And I can't imagine my life. Oh God, I'm like emotional. My life without her. She takes a lot, and I'll bring it up right now, but we're in week 4 of April. We're probably going into our last week of April. So it's really hard working full time, 2 parents working full time and taking care of a 9-month-old. But at the same time, we get to witness all of her new things, her new milestones, even just being better moving or wanting to stand up, all those little things we would have missed if she was in daycare every day like she was. So super grateful for that, and grateful for my experience. I did not enjoy being pregnant, and lots of people do. So if you don't, get on yourself, because I think a lot of stuff in the media is just like the joys of being pregnant, like glowing and all of that. But there's also a lot of things, your body changes so much. So there's a lot of things you need to deal with too. So I think my takeaway, because it definitely gave me a little confusion, a little check on my confidence. I don't think I ever questioned myself on like my self-confidence physically or even emotionally, but this will do that to you. But there's always there's always the light at the end of the tunnel. And then, also your relationships, with friends or with your husband, especially, or your partner, definitely gets tested. And I think I'm still in that and maybe just coming out of that too. So, I want to end my experience on a positive note that I would never give up anything for Miss Little Sana. And how beautiful she is and how smart she is. And I still was able to do the things that I wanted to, and will continue to, because you can have it all. Might not be to your expectations at first, but, it just depends on if you really want it. just like any other time in your life. And then, just work hard and, seek help if you need it, if you are going through any issues with doubting yourself or, anxiety or depression, because we all probably had, a range of that during this time. So that's me.
And Sana is 9 months, right? She just passed 9 months.
She is 9 months. She'll be 10 months May 10th. So in a couple weeks, which is crazy that in like 3 months she'll be 12 months or 1 year. And that's nutty. I can't even fathom.
It goes by so fast.
Time is just a thief. Now I really, really understand that.
I have to say, probably the most memorable thing from your whole pregnancy was us being at Justin Vineyards.
Agreed.
We're all just like having lunch, just messing around, talking, waiting for the food to come out. And then Jake comes out with you with the announcement. Literally, we all screamed, started crying. Like, we were so happy for you guys. Like, Sana was the baby we were waiting for.
I know.
So how long have you and Jake been together?
Oh my God. So this May as well, probably around her 10th birth date. That's what you call it. It'll be 19 years.
19 years.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
unreal.
I think we were
2 decades.
I know. I think everybody just thought it wasn't going to happen, including us. So the fact that we announced it to you guys like that, I thought that was so special.
Yeah, Tila was exactly right. Like, this was the baby we were waiting for years.
Yeah,
Oh, that was such a great moment.
It
and
was.
everyone else in the restaurant got to enjoy it with us.
Yeah.
I know. It was so special. It was like, I was so in shock and just so happy. Like, I couldn't cry the tears, but it just made me feel so loved by all of you guys. To see how much, you loved us and our future baby.
Yeah, we love you guys so much.
Aww.
Yeah, we love Sana. She's such a cute little Cabbage Patch Kid.
I know. Her little cheeks, she's so cute.
I know. We were lucky enough to see her today, and she's like so active now, like saying things. She has little teeth.
She's talking.
Yeah.
She is so talkative.
Waved back at us,
How cute was
smiling.
that?
Yeah, even Kennedy's Zoom birthday call, she was like, hi, kids. She was like, children, they're real.
Instant love connection. She was like, baby. And so,
No.
I guess that's another thing that, if you have a really little one, that they don't have exposure unless you have siblings. You don't really have exposure to other kids, and they love other kids right now. Like, she loves seeing books of babies. And when she sees a baby in person, it's like, oh my God, this is a unicorn. None of us are going out. So, like doing these drive-bys or these Zooms are so special for her because I know she'll look in the mirror and she's like, this is the best.
I just saw that when she was playing with herself in the mirror.
Like,
loved it.
Low key that I put her in front of the mirror when I'm going to the bathroom. It's right outside my bathroom. So I just and she keeps herself company. They're best friends and they're the greatest. So I guess that's the first lesson too, is like, you need to love yourself. So hopefully
very
that is
poignant.
one last thing I wanted to mention, I totally forgot, is me coming around to loving myself during the pregnancy involved my baby announcement and our gender reveal.
Oh,
and we did it so cool. Like, I have to tell you though, Jake doubted me all the way up to filming time. He doubted the storyline, the choreography, and everything. And then when it all came together, like,
he didn't have the vision.
Yeah.
No.
It was like a motion picture.
We have to post it on the TITT Talks Instagram.
We will.
We definitely have to.
We will. Then you guys will see she watches it and she loves it now. And I can only imagine. I mean, it was meant for her to see how special she was and how loved she was. So
I think that's also like a great personality aspect of you. Like, it's something probably that I admire very much, not being a very creative person. I'm more of like a data's number person, but you're so creative between like the DJing, the dancing, like just envisioning that whole thing. Because even your wedding invitation was also a video.
A video.
Right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
You've got a good history of creative arts there.
Well, just so you know, all of our milestones will be videos because that's what I haven't. Jake just is like thinks I'm like annoying, but I'm like, we started it, we got to end it with a video. My death,
It's so good.
Video.
Can you imagine how much she's going to appreciate it though? Like later down the line, like to be able to look back.
I hope so. But I think in the beginning, you know, every year when I make her make a video, she'll probably be annoyed.
Oh,
I doubt it. I doubt it.
She won't know what's going on until she's like 5.
I'm gonna be like that Asian dad that makes you take a picture at every block, you know, of your vacation. Like she's gonna be like, no more pictures, please. No more videos. Mom, I'm not gonna reshoot that. No, you get what you have. But yeah, I mean, you know, honestly, I wouldn't have been able to do it or be the mom who I am without hearing about your experiences first. So I just have to give it up to you guys for really helping me along with my journey, helping me deal with my emotions, you know, just being like a sounding board, or is that what you call it? I don't know.
Yeah.
For the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, you know, because it all is one whole package, and it's just like life right before you. So thank you so much, because if I were the first one, Tilo, I don't know how you did it.
Well, I had others before me, so it's kind of the same. It's like everybody's experience is different, but you need that community of motherhood to help you get through it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Gosh, in 2.5 weeks, I'll have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old. So, like Isa alluded to, we're in the middle of this COVID-19 shelter in place. So you can imagine what it's like having 2 kids at home. It's quite difficult, but we're managing through it. As far as like my, I guess, personal journey to motherhood, believe it or not, like I love my kids. I think that's pretty apparent. But back in high school and even into college, I wasn't really sure if motherhood was going to be for me. My personality is such that I'm not very affectionate. It takes a lot of alcohol and or drugs for me to open up. Just being real.
That's for another episode.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't feel like desert party coming soon. So I don't know. I just didn't feel it was really in my nature to be a mother. But you know, and Dave and I had even talked about, you know, not having children, but, you know, in 2013, we kind of just threw caution to the wind and went for it. So, you know, Dave says he's a one-hit wonder. And, you know, we're very fortunate that we didn't have very many problems getting pregnant when we actually went for it. But statistically, it's funny because there's 4 of us here on this podcast, but statistically 1 in 4 women will have a miscarriage. And that's what happened to me in 2013. So I think I was maybe a little bit naive. I didn't think that actually could happen to me. It wasn't even a possibility that I registered that could happen to me. And it did. And for me, I think just because now being an adult, I know that I actually have a history of you know, just mental illness, I guess, or just susceptibility to depression. So, you know, unfortunately, like 1 in 4 women will have a miscarriage. And then depending on which statistics you look at, between 10 to 17% of those women will then fall into an episode of depression. So unfortunately, like I was one of those women that fell into that, and it was very difficult for me to manage. It was a very dark time. I became very obsessive about like getting pregnant, and unfortunately it just didn't happen. And I think potentially that was just my body's way of telling me, you know, you're not ready for this at this time. So, you know, I think mental health is probably just another like episode we can actually delve into, because I know, you know, Isa, you've had some postpartum stuff that you probably can lend some experience to as well. Yes. And I think like I can probably expand on my own experience at a different time. But unfortunately, I did fall prey to this situation, and it wasn't pretty. It was really dark, and I don't. If you guys have never really had an experience with depression, it's just it really sucks the air out of the room, kind of, and you're very conscious that you don't want to be in this state, but your body will not allow you to come out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just this constant struggle that's just exhausting. So I eventually came out of it, and I went on the path of medication, which for me, just because, mental health is such a stigma, especially in the Asian American culture where we don't really talk about these things. It was a long journey for me to get there, but it was actually the best thing that I could do for myself. And with that, like, honestly, once I acclimated to it, because there are side effects, once I acclimated to it, I almost immediately started feeling better, and I could feel all that grayness and the clouds and everything just lift. And it was an amazing feeling after being stuck in so much sadness. And then, that August, right after, I think wedding season of that year, Dave and I went on just like a staycation to San Diego. And that's where Tessa was made. So Tessa's our almost 5-year-old, and she is quite, how will I say this, spunky, sassy, strong-willed, but she has quite a character.
Just like you.
Yes, she is.
That's how you want a girl to be.
Exactly.
Isa witnessed a temper tantrum and just how loud she can be earlier today. I love her. And I think if there's one thing I'm grateful for during this whole COVID experience is probably just how much time I've been able to spend with her. Like, as a parent trying to work, albeit part-time for me right now, just because I'm in the retail industry, I've gotten a lot more time with her than I've gotten in the past 2.5 years, because my second born, Miles, came into the picture. And Chuk, you're going to understand this very shortly once Casey is born, but you just can't be the mom that you were going to be and that you are to Kai right now. It's so difficult, like the demands of the second child. And it's really a piece of, it's a relationship that I've had to mourn for the last 2.5 years. Just Tess was like everything to me, and I was everything to her. And it just kind of went away and evaporated overnight. And it was really sad. And Dave, luckily, has stepped in and has, until recently become like her number one, and has become her first choice for everything. Wants her to nap with him, wants him to nap with her, and just wants him to do everything. But really, like, this time in isolation and COVID has given a piece of that relationship back to me. That I had with Tessa, which I'm so grateful for, because there would have been no way that we would have gotten this far without this shelter in place happening. So I think, like, that's definitely something I'm super grateful for. And then Miles, we decided, we should give her a friend. So, 2.5 years later, he was born, and he is just the best. Like, it is after having a daughter and then having a son, it's just like, I totally get that boy mom thing. And you don't want to let him go. You don't think that he's going to date anybody. And you just know you're going to be that mom. Like in 20 years time, like, that girl is not good enough for you. Like,
I feel bad for Miles.
Probably what, but probably what all our mother-in-laws potentially might think of us.
My mom is going to be so critical. Like, I'll probably be a little critical, but my mom will be like, oh my God.
She's enough for both of you.
Yeah, exactly. But he's like the best thing that could have happened to our family. And honestly, like, I always thought we would potentially have 3 kids, but once we had 2, I was like, oh, we're good. And then COVID-19 solidified the 2. We definitely don't need a third. But he is just like so sweet, and he's like going through a vocabulary explosion, and he's just learning how to say things. And the other thing I'm probably grateful for during this time is also just the time that Tessa and Miles get to spend together, because it's more than doubled their usual schedule, right? Because normally they're in their own schools and they only spend weekends together. So now they're like becoming best buddies. Although they fight, that's the truth. They do fight. Like, you know, he'll be like running down the hallway and be like, Tessie, come play in my room. And it's just so cute.
So cute.
It's the best thing to see them together. And I don't know. I don't think I could have wished for anything else. You know, like Dave is an awesome partner. You know, like you guys, there was a really big adjustment period, I think. I think with that journey to motherhood, when you're personally carrying the baby yourself, you know exactly what it is to grow that being, to create that bond to that being. You feel the kicks, like all of that. And I think
in my ribs.
Yes, sometimes they're painful. But I think that that bond is slower to come for the men. And there's, you know, we all have our bonehead stories of what our guys may have done. Don't be surprised. But yeah, and then LBKs, which you guys will also hear about, which are lady boner killers. There's going to be an entire episode dedicated to that, and some of them are going to be failures around parenthood, because that's the truth. But you know, I think just 2 children in, like now, Dave and I have kind of found our groove, found our strengths, found our weaknesses. Like, I personally don't have a lot of patience for Tessa when she's having temper tantrums, because I'm just seeing like a mini version of myself, like playing out like my worst personality trait. So like Dave is great because he has the patience of a saint. He deals with her perfectly. Whereas for me, like now that I have Miles and he's a little boy, he can do no wrong. And like if he's having a problem, like I'll just go over there and be like, oh, what's wrong? Like, you know, I'm here for you. So it's really interesting just having like two children of different genders and the difference in the dynamic of the relationship. But, you know, having them a little bit older than your guys' kids, it's you know, I'm, I guess, further along on that journey, but you guys are going to get there. Chook's adding a second. Tika's planning for another one. So it's great. It really is. It's really difficult. You guys all know how difficult it is, but I wouldn't change it for the world. So that's kind of our story.
I have to pass across a compliment that Michael gave you back when we were there, July 4th weekend. Like, what was that? 3 years ago, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah.
It's like we were driving home. He looked at me, and we weren't pregnant yet, or we didn't know we were pregnant yet. He looked at me and was like, "Holy crap, Tilo does it all. How does she do it?" And I was like, "I don't fucking know." He was like, the entire time she was just like carrying her, taking her food, cleaning, and like singing, and like just being positive through it all, and like helping us all through everything as well. So I thought that was really cool.
Thanks, Mike.
You are a great mom, Tilo.
I also have some clarity on when you got pregnant, because it was definitely after Issa's wedding, because we all got really drunk there. And then when it was like, I think my wedding was like 2 or 3 weeks after Issa's.
Yes.
And I remember, like, I mean, we all got pretty drunk. I had a lot of fun at my wedding.
Yeah.
But then I remember Tilo being pretty mellow during my wedding night.
Not normal when there's alcohol.
Yeah, it wasn't normal. I noticed like Dave was like a little bit more like nurturing with you. And then I forget when I found out, but it was because I guess you had found out like a couple of days before my wedding night that you were pregnant. Yeah. And that you gave all of your drinks to Nicole because you didn't want to tell anyone yet. And our good friend Nicole, who we love so much, her and her husband, they just got
wasted.
So much fun.
I remember like it all made sense, and I remember finding out that you and like Gaddy were pregnant on the wedding night. So that was really fun for me. But I will never forget that.
It was a fantastic summer.
It was a great
Wedding
summer.
season was great. Issa, I didn't even really make it to your reception.
I know. That's why I was like,
One of my greatest regrets.
Pre-partied.
One of my greatest regrets.
It was a fun one. And I think that's like also funny that, you know, we all probably had our different ways to like make sure people didn't know we were pregnant, like our little like drinking strategies. Cause like our group of friends, we all drink. So it was like, it's hard to hide. Like I remember Daisy would switch glasses with her husband and I never noticed. But Jake and I, we were so dumb during holidays. We were like, oh, we're on a cleanse. Like nobody's on a cleanse during holidays. That just reminded me.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like for me, I drink all the time. And like Glenn, my husband, is always talking about how in every picture that he sees of me on Facebook, even from like before we were together, he's like, you always have a drink in your hand. And like my boss has made that remark to me too. Like, Tiffany always has a martini in her hand. Or something. So my journey to motherhood was motherhood was something that I always knew that I wanted. I don't know if it was because just my parents ingrained such like a certain idea of how my life was to go. But I knew it was something that I always wanted, although I was never like super in love with babies. And I've never been like super good with kids. Like Issa. When I saw Issa around kids and like she'd get down on the floor and play with them, and, you know, she can do baby voice. I was like, wow, like she'd be really a good mother. But
I love kids, but I don't want to be the mom.
Yeah, and you're so good with them. Like,
Thank you.
Before like all of us had babies, like you were so good with our like maybe not so close friends and their kids.
Yeah.
I'd say having kids was something I always knew I wanted. Like minimum 1, maximum 2. I knew that it had to be with the right person though, and we're going to have a healthy relationship before we brought another human being into this life. So, I had gone through a series of boyfriends before I met Glenn, who you all know, and Glenn is a very special guy. Like when I met him, I was like, oh, this guy's so good looking, but he definitely gave off the air of like, I love him, but like douchiness or like all-time like bachelor, and like he never wanted to get married, he never wanted to have kids. And I'm sharing this with you girls and the public now, but I remember there was one time I wasn't taking him super seriously. Like I didn't think he was going to be that into me that quickly, but he was. But just like from the things that he would say and the way that he would act, and like a lot of our like dating was just like going out and partying and like having like really fun wild nights. And it's like, well, I don't know if he would want anything more than this, but you know, he did. But one time he made this comment to me. He was like, I have girls throwing themselves at me.
Oh God.
I was like, oh my God.
Cringe.
And I can never forget this because when he said that, I texted Bree and I was like, oh my God, this guy said he has girls throwing themselves at him. Should I be worried? And she was like, oh no. You know, but you know, eventually we got through that and we had this great relationship. And, you know, lo and behold, the man who never wanted to get married or ever have kids, like he wanted to get married and he wanted to have kids. And he was like, he was ready even before me, which was very surprising, although I guess not that surprising because he's a lot older.
Yeah.
I love him so much. And if he hears this, I love you, Glenn.
You and Glenn are like the modern day Judith not like love novel, romance novel. That's like the sweet, smart girl, you know, gets this reformed rake and changes this like Playboy prince like homemaker that like takes the son out to the desert and like wants 3 kids. It's pretty amazing.
He's such a
He's a
family
great guy.
man.
I mean, he's the type of guy that like whenever I met his friends, and they weren't trying to make this a big deal. They'd be like, "Oh my gosh, Glenn Silva has a girlfriend." Oh my, anyway, any girl who's able to lock Glenn Silva down is like okay in my book. And it was, yeah, it's like off-putting but flattering.
Shoot, you are a 15 out of 10. Okay, so let me just say that.
Yeah, you just went to the desert pregnant.
He is so lucky to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say he's lucky. I'm lucky too, but he's really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is.
And like, you know, we were having a lot of fun. Like we got married, we still had lots of fun. But he was definitely ready to have a baby before me. So I can recall this year, like it plays, the timeline is so exact in my head because it's just marked by all these big dates. But 2016, I remember like in the early summer, Glenn was like, "I'm ready to have a baby."
Wow.
Like, good for you. Ready to have a baby. But so I took that and I was like, okay, well, this is good because we know that if we get pregnant, then, that's great. But I'm not ready to start trying. But we had like a misunderstanding just like the one time. And then like, lo and behold, I guess I'm pregnant. And I remember finding this out because we found out on the same day because it was Glenn's birthday, the August 6th weekend of 2016, and Glenn loves his birthday. He loves it so much. So we were like, pre-birthday activities. Like the Friday night before his birthday party, we went out to this like steak and seafood restaurant. I had martinis, and we ordered a bottle of wine, a bunch of beer. It was a really big day. It was unnecessarily big, but I remember being like super gassy that whole day and just thinking like, what is wrong with me? And then the day of his birthday landed on August 6th. It was a Saturday, and it was also his birthday party night.
Mm-hmm.
The 80s party. 80s. My parents wanted to take him out to lunch, so we were there, and we were waiting for my parents, and I was like, I'm still so gassy. I have no idea, like, why I'm gassy, bloated, I don't know, interchangeable, whatever. So Glenn was like, well, is that a symptom of being pregnant? And I was like, no. First of all, there's no way I'm pregnant, and I've never heard of that before, but because it's your birthday party tonight, and we're going to take a bunch of shots, I will Google, do my medical research that way. And because I found out through the internet that being bloated was a symptom of being pregnant, I decided I should take a pregnancy test before taking a bunch of shots at Glenn's birthday. And I bought a clear blue test on the way home, took it, and immediately said, holy shit, I'm pregnant. And like, what is this going to do to my night?
Shots for you.
To my life. And just, like, it was like so many emotions because Glenn was like excited for his birthday party. He was excited for his baby. And we were like, okay, I didn't want to tell anyone. I was planning on telling you girls because, that what we were talking about earlier, it's like, if I'm not drinking, then people are going to know. People are going to know something's up. So I remember that day, that night, I told you, and we had an agreement, or Glenn and I had an agreement that we weren't going to tell everyone, but he ended up telling everyone at the party, and I just I had all these people coming up to me like, oh, I heard, I'm so happy for you, and it's like, this definitely wasn't like the route that I thought we were going to go with, like telling everyone, because usually everyone's like, okay, wait till 12 weeks. That didn't happen. But yeah, that's how I came to announce to everyone that we were having Kai. And throughout that pregnancy, I guess it was pretty fun. I had super feelings of FOMO, so I probably went out like way too much. But
You were the most awesome pregnant person, I just have to say. All of our DJ events, she was at up to like 9 months.
Yeah, with a little bump.
Yeah, it was like 37 weeks. So I'm 33 weeks with my second boy now, but because Glenn was DJing at Avalon at 37 weeks. So I was like, I'm just going to make it to this one. I definitely couldn't do it this pregnancy. But I'd say, my journey to motherhood has been a great one. I've been able to see that, motherhood isn't what it's like portrayed to be necessarily, like in the old fashioned times. Like, we still go out and we still have fun. That's like something especially Issa does. She's like an inspiration to me. I guess, like, we all can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a village, though. We wouldn't be out without our parents' help or somebody else's help.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's
and even like each other's help, because like we have these just great events where we can just get together and like throw our kids in. We can't throw them in a room quite yet. Eventually we can. Eventually they're gonna have their own table at Korean barbecue, and we're gonna be able to have adult conversations at the same time. But it's been a fun balance of learning to manage our time and learning that we can still do things for ourselves.
Yeah.
So with that, I'd say that having Kai was like a great blessing. He wasn't something I was never super enamored with babies, but I've learned to be, I think, and I'm enamored with him, and he was great motivation for us to have our second. So yeah, I think motherhood is what you make it, and with the support of your significant other and your friends and your family, it can be a fun, amazing, beautiful thing.
Yes, cheers to that.
For sure.
Cheers.
I'm
Cheers.
like,
Cheers.
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 I need to grab another beer. But
I'm like also laughing to myself because I think we talked about Issa's announcement being a highlight of her pregnancy, and I'm just like remembering
the same thing.
I'm just remembering your was it the reveal? And then when you also said the name, and then your mom, Mrs. Chukia, was like,
"Can you please talk about that?"
So we're going to talk about Mrs. Chukia probably.
Okay, we could save it.
During these podcasts, but yes, my mom.
Your mom, Mrs. Chukia. Oh my God,
legendary
Mrs. Chukia.
Yes,
she's like a legend.
Yeah,
we're gonna have an episode about her, but she has this like ability to say really funny, ridiculous things. So we had a gender reveal for Kai, when we were having Kai, and we found out we were having a boy, and everything was merry, everything was great, and my mom was like, wait, this is with Kai.
Yes.
She said something ridiculous.
Yes, she did. But
so with Kai, she was like, tell us the name. And then we were at first thing, we'll keep it to ourselves. Okay, fine. We're like, his name's going to be Kai because, that means ocean and water, and Glenn's, obsessed with the Hawaiian culture. So Kai is like a nice, strong, simple name. And my mom was like, you're going to name it? Like, she's like, I knew it, but doesn't that mean chicken in Thai? Because that's exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The way she said it at the reveal was like, oh, I knew it. Like,
yeah, she was like smug about it. She was so smug.
And your face,
I knew it.
Your face was golden. Like,
yeah,
I wish
your reaction.
It was amazing. It was like. I wish we could put this up for you guys to see her face, because it was like, no, you didn't.
I have it burned into my memory. That's why I'm laughing so much.
I will never forget it.
That's something I also get from my mom is like the inability to, like you can usually see my emotion. Like I wear my emotions on my face. like the way she's like, I knew it. I just looked at her with, I think it was like a mix of confusion, but from everyone else.
Also indignation.
Yeah, sure.
This is my baby. But yeah, and then yeah, so she acted like she knew everything, and then she was like, "That means chicken in Thai. Why would you name him that?" So that was another little hump, but I don't say that anymore.
Yeah, that definitely needs to be another episode too, like drawing boundaries with your awesomely Asian parents, because like they'll be the first to volunteer to take care of your kids for 8 hours a day, right? But then they feel like they have the right to impose judgment on like the food that you give them and like the amount of water that you give them, the amount of time and it's just like so annoying sometimes.
Yeah. And their antiquated way of rearing children.
Yeah, like don't give her a shower 15 minutes before bed. That's how she catches cold.
Yeah.
Really.
My mom called us. But yesterday we like kind of took our, I guess you call it a baby moon. It's not a baby moon, but it was like our last trip before baby number 2 comes. And Glenn wanted to go to the desert. Kai wanted to go to the desert. And amazingly, we were in this like random, very like far out random place in an area called Landers near Joshua Tree. And my mom calls and she's like, whatever you do today, don't go to the beach because, you know, there's thousands of people at the beach this weekend. COVID-19 is everywhere. And I was like, okay, Mom, we're not going to the beach. I didn't tell her I was at the desert.
Yeah.
It's best that way.
Yeah. So I guess that's for me. That's the end for me.
Tell us about you, Teacher.
And Kennedy.
Actually, this is a great segue talking about Truth and Glenn, because I think the first time I felt a little bit off was at Glenn's party 2 years ago. 2 or 3, how old is she? She's 2. So like 2 years ago, back 2017, we were at his birthday party. We were all there, and we were at the Mexican restaurant. And I was it was like the first time I ever turned down a shot. Like I had a margarita, but I turned down a shot, and I started feeling really weird. But I got my period the next day, so I thought, oh, okay. And this was during a time where we were like, okay, you know, we're not going to put too much pressure into it. I hope this isn't being too forward, but my mom had some issues in the beginning. Cheers. Thanks.
Teacher just got a shot handed to her by Mike. So amazing. Great partner.
Yeah.
That looks so good.
That's one of the things too. Like, so, oh my gosh, what do I even touch upon first? So first thing is, I went through a pretty painful divorce. So one cool thing is, two Tiffany's and an Issa on this podcast all got married the same summer.
Within a month?
Yes. It was
boom, boom, boom.
Freaking spectacular. And, you know,
that was a fun year.
It was
bachelorette parties. We were tan and I mean,
oh my gosh. It was the year. It was the party year. Is fantastic. But like due to the statistic, you know, I was the one that got a divorce. And so it was an interesting situation because I didn't think that I would have the opportunity to be in a relationship that would, you know, I wouldn't say be happy, but I didn't think that I would ever get married or be on the path to getting married again, let alone having children. And on top of that, my mom had a lot of infertility issues when she was younger. So it took 4 years to conceive me. And, you know, it took a lot of help. So I, you know, honestly didn't think that it was in the cards for me. So when Michael one night was like, hey, let's just give it a try and see what happens. And I was like, heck yeah, let's just give it a try and see what happens. And we got pregnant. And so when I was
like your first time trying?
It was our first time. Yeah.
That was like us.
Yes, exactly. And it's like, maybe that's
too.
I wasn't trying. I wasn't
Same.
trying. Glenn was trying. I
was anti-trying. I used an app that told me I was like 0.00%.
That little swimmer was
Oh my gosh, we are just soul sisters, all of
I
us.
know. Wait, so I'm confused. So when you were at that Mexican party, not the Mexican party, the party at the Mexican restaurant. So were you pregnant even though you got your period?
I was pregnant.
Oh,
yeah.
so it was just like spotting. Oh, was it implantation bleeding?
It was implantation bleeding.
When did you test that night?
I tested. So Chuk and I went to an Angels game, I think shortly thereafter. And then I took my test that next morning. Because
Nice.
yeah, that next morning. Oh my gosh, I drank so much because she invited me to her firm's box at the Angels game. I drank so much.
That was such an awkward experience. Just to clarify, it was one of our clients who had like a team of 11 attorneys was like thanking the attorney team, like various offices. So it was the client's box. But yeah, she had way too many attorneys. But yeah.
And we were very circumspect. We were definitely very
that was a fun night, yeah.
Yes, it was a lot of fun. But I think what happened was I started spotting, and then I stopped, and then I started spotting again. And that's when Michael was like, you should just take a test just to be sure. Because I had already resigned myself to the fact, like, okay, like first time didn't work, whatever. We'll just try again next month. No big deal. And then I had one of those like 100 for $2 Amazon tests, and it was positive. And I was like, this is just like faulty. So again, I went and got like a nice expensive CVS test, and it said positive, and it completely like it changed everything, but in a way it didn't change everything because we were in a great position, I think, to be pregnant. So at the time I was working in Irvine and living in Monterey Park. So that commute was about 4 hours a day. So that itself was a little bit tough. But aside from that, like we were renovating the house next door to my parents. So our house, so I had all the help of my parents and Michael. So all I had to do every day was just get home, and then like dinner was made and like drinks were done. And I just had to, and Brady was living with us like in my room. So Brady's my dog. So we had pretty much everything taken care of for us, which was really nice. And the entire pregnancy was also really easy. And thanks to Chuk, like, I feel like I had a model pregnancy where like I felt like I could still go out. Like I remember at 8 weeks pregnant, I was going out to Blue Jay,
yes,
for Michael's birthday. And we just were having a great time. I didn't even remember that I couldn't drink. Like I didn't drink, but I was like dancing and having such a great time with everyone. It was a very happy, easy pregnancy, and I would love to go through it again. And we were slated to get married this year, May 23rd, but because of COVID, we're going to postpone it to later on this year, which is totally fine. The only thing I'm a little bit sad about is that postpones our pregnancy a little bit too. I would love to have a second. So that's the only thing that makes me a little bit sad. But other than that, like I want to go through the experience again. It was so much fun. And the experience of being a mom with Kennedy has just been absolutely overwhelming in like the most remarkable sense. The whole experience has just been really remarkable because I never felt like I could love someone else as hard as I do. And it has just made me feel like I've opened up a new dimension to myself because just like, though I'm actually not very good at expressing emotions. Like I feel like I wasn't hugged as a kid, so I don't know how to hug others. So she's really taught me, and Michael too. And that's a remarkable thing. Michael has been such an amazing dad and father figure. I couldn't have done it without him. And especially since I think she is more his kid than mine. There are days where she is so emotional and she just wants to like kick the world and I don't know how to handle it. And I am so glad that she has a dad that knows and understands and is able to like sit there with her and be like, I understand how you feel. Let's just sit there and like talk it through. Sometimes it's just like putting her in her crib and just sitting there with her in the dark and just like letting her just like yell it out, scream it out. And I don't know if I would have been able to handle that on my own. So
That's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
That's a piece of Mike that we don't know.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
I feel like I have the same experience too. Like, even though I come from a loving, at least my mom and my brothers, I don't think we really said, I love you the way that Jake's family says it to each other. And the hugs have to be tight. Otherwise you're like, it's like, what are you doing? Is that a hug for like, I don't know. It's like you get called out for not hugging like full bear hug, you know? So like, I'm so excited for Sana to grow up and that kind of feeling. I don't feel like we were deprived of anything. I knew my family loved me, but it's just a different way.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I love that story. I totally agree and feel it that like, I don't know. They just like, I can't stop hugging Sana or kissing her. I could kiss her all day. And I can't wait till she can hug me back or like wants to hug me back. So.
It's the best.
Oh, baby kisses are the best.
Yes.
Don't you guys also think, this is just a side note, like, damn, like what your moms went through? Like, my dad wasn't around for most of the time when we were growing up, and I don't know how my mom dealt with us by herself. Like, she's a fucking superhero. Like,
I
like,
definitely
it's
think
crazy.
we're living in a different time because my mom did everything: homework, cooking, worked, you know, full-time job, and took care of us full-time. My dad just worked, came home, ate, you know, watched TV.
Exactly.
And I think that was just society at the time. And I could not fathom that being my life right now.
Yeah.
And we are so lucky to have these guys, these modern dads and husbands, you know, be part of our teams, because I think they all definitely contribute in very, you know, important ways.
Yeah.
And to our credit, I think we also make clear that they are expected to meet us halfway when it comes to parenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
They still fall short sometimes.
And if Glenn expected me to do like everything, I would be like, nope, this is not going to happen. I am never ready for a baby.
Yeah. So I remember my mom being angry almost all of my childhood, and I'm like, damn girl, I know why. I know why.
I get it now.
Like if my relationship with Dave was like that, oh God, it would not be okay. Like it would just not.
Yeah.
Our moms are definitely super, super moms, you know?
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
it's nice because Mother's Day is also just around the corner. So
Oh, I almost forgot. Yes.
yeah.
My first Mother's Day.
Yeah. How exciting. I hope you're all spoiled because you deserve to be. You work tirelessly at what you do.
Yes.
Yeah, good job, us.
We are all queens.
Pat on the back.
So
that was great.
I loved it. I loved hearing, you know, some things I learned about you guys that I didn't know. And I love all your children, and to witness, you know, your journeys too, and then just re-talk through it. So special. And I hope you guys out there all liked coming on this journey with us. Again, it's Tiffany, Issa, Tiffany, and Tiffany. That's why we're called TITT Talks. And with every episode, we aim to shed some light on our lives growing up Asian American, growing together through our 20s and 30s, and growing as mothers. We hope you feel like you're a part of our girl gang and get a sense of how we conquer this world together with our families and our children. But again, share with us, review us on iTunes, you know, DM us on Instagram. This is definitely just not between the four of us. We want you guys to definitely get involved, and we hope to share some of your suggestions, some of your stories with any listeners in the future. So thank you so much, you guys. Thank you, TITT.
World is great.
Thanks, girl.
Cheers to all of you. And, happy almost Mother's Day. I love all
happy
of you
Mother's
guys.
Day. We love you. I love you.
Love you.
Cheers.
Cue static intro or outro. Sorry.
Boom.
All right. That's freaking awesome.
I was
That
really
was so
happy I was able
good.
to mute myself before